I, I must say that the United States has fallen way behind in world progress in skepticism. Now, I head up one of the major skeptical organizations, the James Randi Educational Foundation. I'm connected with all the rest of them in America and, as a matter of fact, around the world. But I must say that I'm going to outline for you some stuff that may make you very unhappy to hear that. First of all, I have to go to my little tirade here. It's all typed and printed out for me in case I forget anything. At my age, I often, forget things. The United States of America is presently in the grip of a mania that threatens my nation's educational standards. It's very sad, but true. And the general quality of life in that part of the world has suffered. Irrational, superstitious beliefs are being encouraged in schools, in the media, and in every aspect of daily activity. That's hard to take. Astrologers, spiritualists, channelers, psychics, and prophets are flourishing as never before. At every turn, we're being seduced by lies, hoaxes, and frauds, often in the name of orthodox science. 5 years ago, if I had been asked about the state of rationality in America, it would have been cautiously optimistic. It was my feeling then that the skeptical movement was making an impression on the media as well as on the public at large. At this point in history, however, I cannot maintain much of that opinion. The leading media offender in these matters, by far, continues to be television, because it is the most attractive, easily viewed media that gives the most information. Citizens are constantly assailed with ludicrous claims by sellers of miraculous carpet cleaners, fake energy pills, magical stain removers, and such modern panaceas as pollen tablets gathered by busy little bees. Magic magnets and copper bracelets that cure arthritis, and revived ancient medical notions that belong in the Dark Ages and nowhere else. On cable TV systems, to which a large percentage of the rural population subscribes in America, there are numbers for psychic hotline services which charge from $4 to $6 for each minute of conversation. And of course, they keep the viewers, the callers and such on the line for as long as they possibly can, because that's where the money is. Ever innovative, we Americans have also developed another new frontier of irrationality. You're going to love this. A California genius now offers a service that has attracted eager customers among those who dare not miss out on the latest variety of fashionable foolishness. She points out that since a long popular doll known as Barbie, I'm sure you're familiar with Barbie dolls, has been sold by the millions worldwide and has earned the devotion of just as many little girls, it's obvious that a Barbie, are you ready? Super consciousness now exists. And fortunately, this entrepreneur is able to channel the resulting spirit of the collective mass of plastic that makes up all the Barbie dolls ever produced and sold, loved and cared for by all those little girls. She charges a fee for bringing her happy customers the latest news and views from the world of polyethylene dolls. Ridiculous, but true. Some years ago, a court case against former American football player O.J. Simpson captured the rapt attention of the American public as well as the rest of the world. What is little known is that Marcia Clark, the chief prosecutor in that case, came from a Scientology background and had already been through 2 Scientology husbands. She lost the case, and that case could have easily been won, but she lost it. Now, for those of you who may not know, Scientology is a religion based upon a science fiction story by the late L. Ron Hubbard, a writer who discovered that with appropriate and very, very expensive training, humans can cast their memories back, not only to the time when they inhabited their mother's wombs, but all the way back to their prehistoric origins in primordial slime. Wow. We are, he said, affected by prenatal, transplantal memories of arguments our parents went through when we were the size of peanuts. If you believe any of that, you're in trouble, folks. But there are millions of people out there who subscribe to Scientology. Also, a prominent U.S. attorney, F. Lee Bailey, who became a defense lawyer for O.J. Simpson, was employed by J.Z. Knight, a spiritual channeler that I'm sure you've heard of international fame, who still says that she's in daily contact with a 35,000-year-old spirit named Ramtha. The very, very rich Mrs. Knight was sued by a German spirit medium, this is funny, who claimed that Ramtha was her property. Mrs. Knight's lawyers were able to convince an Austrian judge, that Mrs. Knight owned Ramtha, and the spirit officially and legally became hers. Justice triumphs once more. As for the fictional spirit Ramtha and his posthumous influence in the U.S. government, the Federal Aviation Administration chose from among 200 competing contractors to hire a disciple from the Ramtha School of Enlightenment to instruct federal air controllers in the United States. These are the persons directly responsible for air safety in the USA. One can only now imagine a controller denying landing rights to an aircraft that could interfere with a UFO asking for landing priority. I wouldn't be at all surprised. The cost of this esoteric farce to the American taxpayers, I'm one of them, teaching air controllers to listen to someone who's dead for 35,000 years old, $1.6 million, if you can believe that. That's from my tax money. I had to pay part of it. Many Americans pride themselves on the strict separation of church and state, a privilege not really enjoyed in all countries, I must note. Yet taxpayers' money is frequently used to pay for such religious notions as exorcism. Recently, a clinical psychologist billed the state of Arizona $90 an hour for treating the demonic possession of a 10-year-old boy, when a man in New York hacked his wife to death because she was not sufficiently devout. That's a dangerous thing. A state psychiatric hospital prescribed an exorcism for him and was floored by the $12,000 bill that the officiating priest then submitted to them. Even the ultra-conservative Boy Scout movement in the USA has been infiltrated by the Scientologists. A few years ago, their Lifetime Achievement Award was presented to the late L. Ron Hubbard for, quote, his humanitarian works for the betterment of mankind, unquote. And the mayor of Los Angeles, numerous sports figures and movie stars, and the actor who provides the voice of the popular TV cartoon character Bart Simpson were on hand for this important ceremony. And incidentally, you should know this, the Boy Scouts of America do not admit any child who will not assert his belief in a supreme deity. As I mentioned, one of the biggest and most booming industries in the U.S. today is TV evangelism, particularly the sort that deals with faith healing. A few years back, I uncovered the methods used by a number of these swindlers to convince their audiences that they could speak with God. I appealed to the state attorney in California to stop one practitioner of this fakery, Reverend Peter Popoff, and the attorney declined to do so. Therefore, I went over his head. I put it all on a popular TV show. And here's how it looks. Let's play that video, please. I'm praying for it to come up.